Okay, I'm going to play a set of 3 short little pieces. The first one is a prelude. It's called Preludio Arpeado por la Cruz. And La Cruz, that's another fancy name that guitarists use for the key of E minor. Most of them didn't know how to read music, so they made up names for all the keys. So E minor is the cross. And this is by Gaspar Sanz. And it's a very sort of floaty piece, and it sounds not particularly different to us, but it was sort of radical at the time because it's trying to make the guitar sound like a guitar and not copying vocal music. So it basically is, what can you do if you're noodling on a guitar and finger picking chords? And so that's an exploration. And then that will lead into La Bonne Amitié, or La Buena Amistad, or in English, Good Friendship. And this is for Lizzie and Dan. It was a really popular piece. It was all over the place, and including California. There are several manuscripts with it. And then I'll do a minuet and trio. There are a pair of minuets, and you have to do 3 minuets to get through all the dance steps. So you do, it's like a sandwich. So everyone take out one hand. That's the bottom of the bun. Learn by doing. Take out the bread. Okay, now we put in the pastrami, and now on top we put another piece of bread. So all minuets are sandwiches. Not lasagna, not spaghetti, they're all sandwiches. And one more quick thing. The first minuet explores an effect called bells, and this is for Michael Efrener, who does that. You can play scales by alternating strings, since all the strings are in the same octave. So I'm not doing much here, but the things keep ringing because when I need the next note, I just choose a different location. And then the next part of the minuet has regular fingering like you would do on a Martin guitar. Okay, a prelude, Good Friendship, and then a pair of minuets. Guitars are just like friends. Finicky and funny, but worth it. Okay, the next collection of pieces is a suite by Ludovico Roncalli in 1692. He published a book, a whole series of suites that is a collection of dance-inspired movements, all sort of strung together. And it was quite influential in the guitar playing world. One of the things that Roncalli did really well is sort of combine aspects of different flavors on the guitar into one sort of continuous meal that normally in classical guitar, you're pretty much plucking most of the time. But with a Baroque guitar, the amount of force of a plucked note is about the same as a strummed chord. Everything is sort of evened out. So in a lot of Roncalli's music, you're going along and there's this sort of fluttering melody, and sometimes the thumb plays, and sometimes the index finger plays, and sometimes there's a strum and the melody note is sort of hidden sort of in the strum. So things are always sort of changing or sort of delicate. So it's like a wonderful sort of tasty meal. He was a priest, and he dedicated this book to one of his higher-ups in the church hierarchy. But there were a lot of priests who really played awesome, tremendous guitar. Sort of reminds me of Father Frank at the University of New Mexico. He was at the Newman Center, and wow, could he play organ. He was, like popular organ. He was amazing. Okay, back to Ludovico Roncalli. This is a prelude, an allemande, a courant. Oh, and the courant means running, so it just sort of sparkle along. And I do a thing called note inégal, which means unequal notes, so it's sort of swung rhythms. And then that's followed by a jig, by a short saraband, and a gavotte. So it's like about 6 things on our plate. But it's not too long. It's about 7 minutes total. You won't go away feeling bloated. It'll be... Thank you so much. You're very sweet. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I better check tuning. I'll explain a little bit about this instrument since I stopped here. This has 10 pegs, but 9 strings. You drill a hole and make an extra peg because it looks funny if it looks like it's missing a tooth. Anyway, but the first string is alone and then everybody else comes in pairs. And your fourth set of strings, okay, now I gotta get this thing back in, is in an octave. So there's a high D, a high D and a low one. So if you need a bass, you can sort of come up with your finger and emphasize the bass string. Or if you want a higher note, you can sort of play with your thumb and lift up and you get mostly the high pitch. And this has the peculiarity that all the strings are tuned in the same octave, basically, unlike a modern guitar where you start with the high string towards the floor and get progressively lower. But by having that whole sort of assortment of strings all close together, you get a real sparkly sort of baritone uke sort of sound. There's absolutely no power in this instrument, but it's sort of fun and lighthearted. I sort of think of it as like me. No one's ever going to be afraid of me, but I might make you laugh. Okay, let me check my tuning here. I do this. These strings are made of an artificial material called Nile gut. It's made in Italy, and it's got some fancy secret recipe that sounds very similar to the other strings I use, which are sheep gut. You'll hear people say in slang, they put on catgut strings, but it's never catgut. It's always sheep gut. So all you cat lovers, be calm. Muffin is safe around me. Okay. Strings 2 days ago so that they'd sound nice, but means they're still stretching. Okay, I think that's close. All right, the next set of pieces I put together is sort of a self-made collection. I drew them from a book called The Resumen de Acompañar la Parte con la Guitarra by Santiago de Murcia, and that's the musician that I wrote my doctoral dissertation on long ago. And he was a really good guitar player. He was the guitar teacher for the Queen of Spain, for Maria Luisa Gabriela Savoy. And I think he knew a lot of the big musicians at the time. I think he knew Corelli and Alessandro Scarlatti, and probably knew Domenico Scarlatti. And he wrote just fantastic guitar music. And then that music got sent to the New World. So all of the various big books by Santiago de Murcia, over half of the extant copies are here in the New World, and most of those are in California. So if you're looking for a copy of this book, The Summary of How to Accompany on the Guitar, Los Angeles has one of the few copies, the published one that came out in Antwerp in 1714. And then there's a handwritten copy as well. And this book has the advantage that it took all the popular dances that were coming out of France that had the tune and the choreography. So if you bought one of these publications, it was one-stop shopping. You had everything you needed to do to enjoy the dance. And obviously, there's a lot of advantages if you can have a complete experience and not be missing something fundamentally important. So that book made really big inroads in all the guitar players here in the New World. And so they put their examples of these pieces in their guitar cases, just like I've Bob Dylan songs in my guitar case, that they're popular and you have them handy. And so in this book, the summary of how to accompany on the guitar, Murcia put all the songs in the order that they were published. So it's a lot like you Beatles fanatics like me, like, you can find the song by which album it came out on, right? So if you're looking for a song that came out on Please Please Me, I go, oh, I'm in 1963. Whereas for Rubber Soul, oh, we're in 1966. Oh, Sgt. Pepper, I'm 67. So I could find my Beatles song by when it came out in their catalog. And the same thing happened in this resumen. So these pieces were super popular. There are manuscript copies of these two, not only in the resumen, but copied out in what's called the Eleanor Haig manuscript down in the Southwest Museum near the Gene Autry. What's that museum called? Where Gene Autry?
Autry Museum of Western Americana.
Yeah, so it's just down the street from that and before you get to Dodger Stadium. So it's so anyway, all these are really wonderful tunes. Oh, I'm fudging a little bit. The first piece I'm going to play is not from the book. It's by another composer, by Giovanni Battista Granata, but I'm putting it in there for two reasons, and that is Murcia in the introduction to the resumen, he mentioned Granata's music and that it's really good. So it's mentioned, but mostly I'm putting it in here just because I want an excuse to play it because I like it. That's the real reason. Okay, so this is a collection of pieces that would have been known here in Mission Plaza when people would leave Mass and go to a party after a baptism or something. So let's see. The first one is the Balletto by Granata, and then I'm going to play La Guastalla, which is a country dance, and then I'm going to play La Bacante, which is also country dance, and then La Decine, and then the last one is, let me think for a second. I'll think of it in a second. I'll tell you afterwards. Hopefully, I think I'll remember the notes. It's just the title is okay. Okay, here we go. you. Thank you. Finally, the senior moment passed. That last piece was called La Bretaña. Let's see how we're doing. Okay, when I sent Liz and Dan a tentative program, I did the Cal Poly professor thing. I put way too much in too little space. So I think I'm just going to move around and play pieces as sort of the mood strikes. Let's go to England a little bit. Last year, Dylan Binender, a wonderful student at Cal Poly, he asked if I would play lute on his recital. And I said, I won't play lute, but I'll play the lute songs on the guitar. So I sort of worked this stuff out. And we ended up choosing 2 Shakespeare songs, and then one by Thomas Campion. But the Shakespeare songs, one is Where the Bee Sucks, There Suck I, which Prospero sings in Tempest, the last play by Shakespeare. And then in Twelfth Night, the Fool, who's really the smartest guy in the play, Festa, sings O Mistress Mine. Well, I thought it would be fun if I got the original, if I could, like what did Thomas Morley, who's the composer, what did he actually write down on the page? Because it's sometimes really revealing what the initial source says compared to what you buy at the local music store. Because not that what's added is necessarily bad, but it's good to know what did Thomas Morley think as opposed to what did the editor think. And that's true, I could give you my edition that I'm playing, but you shouldn't follow my idea. You should follow Morley's idea, and then maybe if you want to be influenced, okay, but it's good to keep those separate. Anyway, it really became clear to me fast that we have to be doing this song wrong. And the reason I think that is because the rhymes in the Shakespeare play were in all the wrong places. Like normally at the end of a phrase you have the rhyming word, but the rhymes, the way that we have been doing it, they go by in a blink, and then you have on this long-held note the word the or something. There's no way that Shakespeare would let you write a song and go the. Okay, that is not going to happen. Well, okay, I'm exaggerating a little. It wasn't the word the, but almost. It was the poem makes a lot of sense, and the music doesn't fit. And so when I went back to what we have of Morley, it's sort of funny. We have the text in the Shakespeare plays. We have the words. And then we have a band arrangement. Well, I say band. It's like a bluegrass band arrangement that Morley did. And we have half the parts for that. And then there's a manuscript called the Fitzwilliam Virginal Manuscript that has a version of it with a lot of sort of noodles. And so the first thing I realized is in this sort of arrangement for like flute, violin, or viol, bass viol, or Orfarian, there were like 6 instruments, like a bluegrass band. The meter was marked by a 0. Okay, I need group participation. 0 in the Renaissance means you're in triple meter because circles are perfect, and if you have a half a circle, you're missing something, right? So for instance, the Sanctus in the Mass would usually be written in a meter with a 0 for the holy, 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 the 3 and all that sort of stuff. Okay, I'm getting way too fancy. Okay, so here's what I ended up, I realized that this piece is actually not just a song, that it's a dance, because all of Thomas Morley's dances that are courants, remember I talked about a courant, sort of a lilting thing? This is a currenta, and for Thomas Morley, he always writes them with a circle, and so they're basically, it comes out to be this. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So it's a little 3, a big 3, and a little 3. The little 3 is always frame big 3s in the middle. So count with me. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then we do that again. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then the next phrase is that, but it's just putting a few more slices of ham and pastrami and stuff in the middle. It's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So if you play this piece and you play it like a dance, which I'm sure it was, it works out great. And here's the thing, but then I have this problem that there's one line of poetry that's still lacking. And then it hit me, it was really, really, really common to do what's called a petit reprise. The last phrase of the dance you repeat. And I don't know if you noticed, but in the roncalli I sometimes did that. You take the last phrase and do it one more time just for tidy things. It's what the Beatles do with their songs. The last phrase of the song, they'll go tick and then end the song before you go into the next one. Okay, so one more time. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So this is my reconstruction of O Mistress Mine that Festa would sing in, and I think probably dance to in Twelfth Night. Let me check the tuning one more time. Yeah, he's flat. Thanks for your patience. It's worth it to tune. Okay, O Mistress Mine by Thomas Morley. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, let's do another Shakespeare song. So the other song is Where the Bee Sucks. And so I was hoping to find the lute part, because we know that the person who wrote this song was a guy named Robert Johnson. And Robert Johnson was Shakespeare's lutenist in the first 4 or 5 years of the 1600s. They went to the same church, the same parish, and we know that Johnson wrote the music for a lot of this place. So we have in in the Folger Library, the Shakespeare Library, a manuscript with the words to Where the Bee Sucks from Tempest, and the song is it's assigned to a guy named White, which is wrong. That's wrong, but we know that's wrong. So it's actually by Robert Johnson. But unfortunately, it's just the tune and the no accompaniment, right? But I love filling in things that are missing. So I wrote an accompaniment that I think is, I mean, who knows how close I am, but I think it's credible. I mean, I don't think if Johnson were here, he'd say, that sounds like Jimi Hendrix. I think he, thank you. Thank you. Okay, let's do one more by Robert Johnson. This piece, I have no idea what the title means, but I love it. It's called Hit and Take It. It's an Alman by again, Shakespeare's lutenist. Okay, I'm deciding what I want to do here. I think rather than try to play an entire suite by Bartolotti, and it's really super, but I'm going to try to keep my sort of eye on the clock and just do a couple more things. But I think I'm going to extract a few movements from this suite. It's like the Roncalli suite in that it's a collection of about 6 or 7 numbers, and each have a different sort of mood. So I'll do the prelude and an allemande, and I'll do a sarabande. But I want to talk about the sarabande for a second, in that it's the sarabande is actually of Native American origin. That if you look at Mexico in the middle of the 1500s, there are several pieces that are, I'll say, invented, meaning Spaniards liking stuff that they hear with Native American culture and copying it, and then bringing it back across the channel, across the Atlantic to Europe, and then everybody sort of copying it. So there are several of these, like the Chacona. We've all heard chacones by Bach and Handel and Vivaldi and Corelli and Brahms, all sorts of. The Chacona, that's actually from Mexico. The Purépecha people, who are Tlaxcalans near present-day Morelia. There's a town called Chacona, and the Spanish, they heard these pieces, these processional pieces. Imagine Mardi Gras, right? Or the Rose Bowl parade. Everyone's in a big parade. Everyone's all has plumes and flowers. And of course, Spain, Iberia, not being a tropical, paradise, they don't have like all those fancy tropical birds and flowers and stuff. So when they saw everybody decked out like the Rose Bowl parade, they thought, wow, we got to have parade. We got to bring the Rose Bowl parade back to Spain when we go. And so they were writing pieces called chaconas. Okay. And then they also were writing sarabandas and marionas, and all those are of Mexican/Native American origin. And one of the ways you can actually sort of tell is through oral tradition. That is, I'm from New Mexico. Yay! Okay, and if you go to the Gallup Indian ceremony and talk to anybody and you talk to the drummers and stuff, there's really often a two pulse beat. Depends on the piece, but it's like this. And what is that? That's your heartbeat, right? That the whole purpose of music is to put yourself in harmony with our Creator and with Mother Nature, right? It's not to win a Grammy, it's to be in harmony with, the cycles. And so it's not like a piece has a beginning and an end. You just want to be in harmony, right? Okay, so all that great music by Jessica Palestrina has a beginning and it develops and it concludes, but that's not a reflection of your heartbeat. Okay, so everyone take a breath too. Let's do a couple of breaths. Ready? Breathe. Again. Obviously, that's a binary thing too, but you'll notice we don't almost ever do it in equal time, unless you're running. You're running, it's like, okay. But if we're in a normal situation, having our breakfast, our bagel and our coffee or whatever, it's like, pause. Okay, so we're going to do this now. Strong, 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 strong. So what makes a sarabanda or a saraband? A saraband is your heart. It's 2 strums, and it's actually 2 downbeats. It's not chew any more than my heart has a downbeat. If my heart has a downbeat, you need to take me to the emergency room right now. Okay, so let me play a little bit of the beginning of the sarabanda that I'll play in the context of this suite in a second. So you can at least hear the 2 things. Ready? Everyone go 1, 2, 1. And it doesn't have to be fast, so just keep it calm. Okay. Strong, strong, and etc. like that. So it's strong. That's a saraband. Okay, so this is by Angelo Michel Bartolotti, you've never heard of him. No one plays his music because his handwriting is messy. But if you tough it out and play the notes, it's worth it. Oh, okay. All right. So I'm going to play the prelude, which is so beautiful, and the Allemande, and then I'll play the Sarabande. Sorry. Bartolotti probably played at the wedding of Louis XIV and Maria Theresa of Spain. And he was hugely important. Again, you've never heard of him, but King of France had him. He was big. Eric Clapton, okay. Thank you. So that last was the saraband.